I expected to be let down, but not like this. Not like this. Did we resolve a single plotline? We'll go over them all very shortly. How you going? I'm Mixy, and we're back with a recap and review of Fallout Season 2 Episode 8 Finale, The Strip. Let's get the praise out of the way first. Sets, costumes, props, effects all looked great. I can say that the money was well spent in this department. Music was a good selection, sparingly using the golden oldies. The plot was slow and meandering, with some head-shakingly bad decisions and a disappointing ending, just like most Bethesda games these days. There is still a massive question relating to the very first episode that I'm waiting to see resolved. In fact, I'm of the opinion they're dragging the reveal out so long that anyone who remembers the original setup will be branded as a pedant. Last episode we had 16 plot lines to wind up in the final episode of Fallout, otherwise they will be carrying over to Season 3. And here we are, having watched the final episode of Season 2 of Fallout, I can say that very few plot points were closed off. In fact, I'd say that at least 11 of the 16 plot points go unresolved. I'm going to head into mild spoiler territory with this analogy, so be warned. Imagine your feet are cold, and you want to put your slippers on. If you go looking for your slippers under the bed and you find that they're not under the bed, would you consider the issue of your missing slippers resolved? Yes? Then you can probably add another 4 plot points to the resolved basket. Some of the resolutions are predictable, some are laughably stupid, some of them just fizzle out, and let's just say that the slippers weren't under the bed, and never were under the bed. So having lingering shots of the bedroom panning towards the bed feels cheap at this point. The show is somehow fast-paced, yet seems to waste your time at the same time? We had so many cuts at such a rapid pace. Nothing was allowed to grow. We had one scene as short as 40 seconds. Fallout Season 2 could have done with an hour-long final episode. Anyway, on to the recap and review. Spoilers! In the meantime, drop us a like and subscribe. Why not? I'm currently playing through Blueprints, and we've got Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which is unintentionally hilarious. And A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which has reached its halfway point and just became my favourite current TV show. Actually good TV. Not just so bad it's good like Star Trek. Let's summarise the major remaining plot points for this season. The Ghoul and his family, unresolved. Hank and Lucy, unresolved. Norman Buds and the FEV, Buds are resolved. The FEV, unresolved. Kaiser's Legion, or what's left of them, unresolved. What, if anything, is left of the NCR, unresolved. Maximus, Freeside and the Deathclaws, resolved. The Brotherhood, or what's left of them, unresolved. The Super Mutants and Ghouls versus the Enclave, unresolved. The Vaults, unresolved. What happened to Woody? Unresolved. Steph and Hank's box. Resolved, kind of. Steph's baby, which I don't know where it was this episode. Unresolved. Cooper Howard and family in the past. Unresolved. How the cold fusion got to the Enclave. Resolved? How that senator got her head used in a mainframe. Unresolved. The number of unresolved plot points at the end of the Fallout Season 2 finale is 12. The number of resolved plot lines in the Fallout final episode comes to 4. And that's if I give them Hank's box being opened as a resolution. And Cooper Howard handing the cold fusion diode to the president. Maybe we'll take it to 11 to 5 if we just count Woody as dead. But if he comes back as a mutant next season, we'll be back to 12 to 4. So the massive question I have that I think they're dragging out is, how did Janie and Cooper get separated when they were together when the bombs dropped? I really feel like they're trying to memory hole that first episode. But we'll have to wait until next season to see, because we got one of the cheapest reveals in years with the location of Barbara and Janie. Let's do the recap. We'll get there. The Fallout Season 2 final episode does a little spoiling of its own. It's been a real issue with these previously on recaps. They tell you what parts of the show you need to remember in order to prime you for the upcoming events, but that spoils it. Oh, we're recapping what happened to Norm? Clearly, we're getting scenes of Norm this episode. It bothers me, and I wish it would stop. Episode 8 proper opens on the Kaiser's Legion camp with the Civil War in full swing. In the war to reveal Kaiser's successor, only one man has the wherewithal to drag his corpse from no man's land. Big Mac! He just casually strolls through the fighting, dragging Kaiser's corpse behind him. Nobody giving him a second glance. The note reads, "I am Kaiser, I am the Legion. It ends with me." Insert Bobby Hill if those kids could read joke here. So the one bloke who paid any attention couldn't read, therefore his presence doesn't really matter, but hey, it at least shows Big Mac to be a little more ruthless than the pussy he was before. He eats the note, dons the laurel wreath and exits the tent to a crowd that has somehow decided to gather around, putting aside their differences that had them murdering each other not 2 minutes ago. And without even explaining, everybody has just accepted Big Mac as the new Kaiser. That was easy. You know, the whole Civil War, no man's land, killing each other, all forgotten. Someone saw him drag Kaiser's corpse into that tent and assumed the note must have had his name on it, even though they were previously following 2 other guys who made the same claim. He's going to build a palace in Vegas. Kaiser's Palace, get it? Oh boy, off to a brilliant start. House is no longer a body, it seems. He's been poisoned, shot, bludgeoned. Did I do that? House has gone from Mr. Numbers knowing the odds to the point he can almost predict the future, to a guy who seemingly keeps getting the wool pulled over his eyes when the stakes couldn't be higher. Oops. He claims that if the ghoul destroys the diode, the damage will be so catastrophic it would reach to other planets. Wowee! And Maximus had that thing in his coat pocket? If Oppenheimer became death incarnate, what does that make Moldaver? Super Mega Satan? He's very chummy with Cooper Howard, considering that they've only met twice before, although one of those times was in the men's bathroom. You'd think he'd be a little bit more angry at him, considering his refusal to hand over the diode in the past meant that House couldn't move forward with his plans for immortality. Wait a minute. How did he get his body/mind preserved if he didn't have cold fusion? His entire setup was designed around it. Moving on, we can't expect every scene to make sense. In exchange for showing the ghoul where his family is, he makes him put on a Pip-Boy. They give these things away like they're going out of fashion. The death claws are on the loose and the good people of Freeside are just standing there like stunned mullets. Thaddeus has to worm his way through the crowd instead of fighting against a fleeing wall of humanity. Again, the effects look really good. That looks like it might almost be a practical Deathclaw foot? Haha, Thaddeus is pointing with his detached arm. He's a funny man. He's still trying to make hot dog a thing. Quit it. But at least he kept on motin'. I'm trying to make motin' a thing. The death claws in this scene go from 1 minute being really easy to destroy to being impervious to attack the next. It's so up and down. So they decide that a glass shot front is the best vantage point to watch a guy in power armor firing rockets at multiple death claws. Geniuses. I guess at least some of them are looking in the right direction of the battle, so that's a start. At least my favourite shop, Golden Globe's Porn, is still standing. I wonder if this will sway the judging at the Emmys. There must have been at least 8 death claws on the strip. They must have all been asleep when the ghoul and Lucy entered. We get a scene with Lucy and Congresswoman Welch which takes forever and boils down to the head somehow managing to speak without lungs and asking Lucy to kill her over and over again, with a cut on the fatal swing. So that's the end of whatever Congresswoman Welch was doing in the mainframe. Norm's being captured. The best bit of this scene is a joke written on the window. Fight apathy or don't. You're a funny guy. That's why I'll kill you last. So they go to the elevator and we get a massively tropey scene. First, Claudia gets pushed over and hits her head on the elevator button. Then a woman looks into the shaft, as you do when you're terrified that something bad might be in there. You don't move away from it, you put your head, the most valuable part of the body, into the shaft. Say shaft one more time. She then does another trope of not checking all possible directions before claiming that there's nothing there. Well, at least they're buds. They're meant to be morons. Cue jump scare, panicked running, and the mindless attackers all ignoring the main character, running right past them to get to the people that are making an effort to dissuade the attack. Perfection. It's laughably bad writing. I mean, look at this. Look at this. The ghoul is on his way to Hank's vault. House is telling him how he was always one step ahead, but he miscalculated. That seems to happen a lot to House. Is he a genius? Overconfident? Or just unlucky? He's the Fallout version of Ahsoka's Grand Admiral Thrawn, getting his butt whooped and stating, "It is all going as I planned." House didn't know about Vault-Tec's investors, except for when he did, because he knew about them from seeing a giant lizard. What? How do you get the knowledge of the existence of the Enclave from seeing a Deathclaw? I guess his magic thinking cap is kinda hit and miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Back to more of Maximus fighting Deathclaws. So if the Deathclaws can be taken out with small arms fire, why didn't the people of Freeside take them out earlier? Apathy? There's an odd shot in this where Maximus uses the Deathclaw's freshly severed arm to do a spinning roundhouse, and it cuts to the king's front door being demolished. Am I to assume that he let go of the arm and it went careening through the king's door? I guess so, but it's really poorly composited, like it was a last second addition. Maximus's fusion core is running out, so the locals start a betting market on the outcome of the fight. But it's a very strangely written scene. The Atomic Wrangler's barman says 50 caps, says he goes down in the next 5 minutes. To which the response is, "I'll put 20 on 3. That's not how betting works. You should be asking what odds you'll get for 3 minutes. And you're both making the same bet. 3 is under 5. I love this extra here. He just looks like he's doing what he was told. No thought about what the actual scene is. Just stand here, flapping my gums, fiddling with my caps. He's in the background in a few shots and he just cracks me up. In the middle of the betting frenzy, he's all, I'd like 2 caps on the fight to last 30 seconds. Actually, better make it 1. I have to take a loaf of bread home. Oh, you know what? If I win with 2 caps, I can get way more bread. Yeah, better make it 2 caps on under 30 seconds. Thaddeus dropping his arm on the floor is enough to get the frenzied crowd to hush up. I doubt anyone would even notice. He wants to lay down 500 caps and the bookie says those are steep odds. Those aren't odds, they're stakes. How do you get it so wrong? Or is this an example of how far these people are from the days of Vegas that they don't understand how gambling works? Even though there's gambling all through Fallout New Vegas. I will admit that I did get a wry smile at his "I used to make money for a living" line. That was pretty clever. Where did they steal it from? Write in the comments if you've heard it before. Lucy quickly flees the scene and will you look at that, she just happens to be on subfloor 7. So the Deathclaws were unleashed on Vegas by the Enclave. By whom I take it to mean Hank. We've not seen anyone else that could be called the Enclave, so Hank was the Enclave all along? Congresswoman Walsh is programming the chips or controlling them. It makes no sense. If she's programming them, it doesn't matter if she's dead. You have the program. If she's controlling them, then everyone should be dead or at least from her control. Flashback to just after Cooper handed the diode to the Enclave. They're planning to get away somewhere far away, as far as Colorado. Is Fallout Tactics becoming canon again? Hank and Steph did get married. That makes Lucy and Norm her daughter? Did she divorce him once she got a place in the vault? The de-aging is really quite good on Hank. How long after the handover to the Enclave did the bombs drop? How long did Hank have to become a member of the Enclave? Was Steph a member? What about Moldaver? Somehow Moldaver has to survive the apocalypse. Ring ring, here's a thing. Payphones start ringing. Hank tries to get the Legion fella to hold Lucy so he can implant her. Meanwhile, the ghoul is granted admittance to the Mega Vault and told that his wife and daughter's cryopods are on, wait for it, subfloor 7. So the bookie has a moment of clarity and realizes that if Maximus loses, they're all dead. But they still gamble anyway. My face when I'm going to die, but the odds are just too juicy. Maximus's suit has found a second wind, but then it's out of batteries again. It's like when you take the batteries out of the remote and roll them between your hands for a bit to save you from having to go to the third drawer in the kitchen. Maximus is just about to go down when Thaddeus saves the day with a Quentin Tarantino-inspired rifle shot. And I thought Starfleet Academy had too many feet shots. But what are the chances the ghoul enters just in the nick of time at the right spot? Amazing! 1,000,000 to 1 shot that it was the same floor, same time, same area. Hilarious. Down to the second as the mind control device was being applied. The ghoul shoots Hank in the bottom and kicks a gun to Lucy. I wonder if they couldn't get the two of them on set at the same time because they never appear in the same shot. Back to Maximus and he recalls Papa Maximus telling him he'll be a good man. Not his famous maxim of leaving the world a little better than we found it. No, forget that noise. He's a good man. The TV told you so. Even though he was a deceiver who stole a knight's power armor and used it to kill people. Even though he advanced the Brotherhood's hatred of abominations. Now that he's helping his friend who has become an abomination and he's trying to get his end wet, he's a good man. He gets a roulette wheel and a pool cue, like a true knight of yore, and readies himself for his heroic sacrifice. He even remembers how the Brotherhood Knight appeared as a vision of strength to him as a child in his own time of need, ignoring the fact that the show implied it was Quintus and that the Brotherhood are basically ice in the world of Fallout. But the heckin' NCR Ranger ripped straight from the intro to New Vegas appears out of nowhere, again, just at the right time, for no apparent reason. What are the odds? Give me 500 caps on that. The NCR marches in on Vegas, just as all hope was lost, with old mate from the hilltop leading the march. Good timing, lady. Lucy put the chip on Hank's neck and marched him out of the lucky 38. I hope she checked that the smelly lizard bulls were all dead. So Hank's already sent his experiments out into the wasteland. Hank activates the chip and his memory is wiped. Lucy leaves her father to the death claws, which she has no idea of taking care of, and meets back up with Maximus. But poor old Maximus has been friend-zoned and doesn't even get so much as a peck on the cheek, just a hug. Steph opens Hank's box and it's a Pip-Boy with Enclave branding. She states that she's still Hank's wife. She initiates phase 2. So she's a Canadian who hates America but works for the Enclave, who is the American government? Okay, I guess the government really is the enemy of the people. Norm managed to survive the Great Roach Plague unscathed and manages to find Claudia, who also got off lightly considering there's severed arms. What are the odds the only person aligned with Norm survived and was the sole survivor? I see what you did there. The phone's ringing in the airport with Mr. House telling Cooper that he didn't dob him in. Barb's and Janie's pods are empty, except for a postcard for Colorado. Come on, Fallout Tactics canonization. The Brotherhood airships getting thrown off course by a storm, the calculator, perfect setup for an escalating season. Tribals leading to mutants leading to robots. So Cooper Howard was arrested by the House Un-American Activities Committee. That was the other house. The house that always wins. The House of Representatives. Cooper took the fall to save Janie. House wanted the ghoul to fight the Enclave, but I guess he'll go back to the mutants in Season 3. The Legion marches on Vegas again. And Lucy and Maximus head to the top of the lucky 38. House is offline, or is he? And they observe the Legion approaching. Maximus does his best Woody Allen impression and welcomes Lucy to the wasteland. House is somehow part offline, part online. I guess we'll see how that pans out next season. Did the ghoul take the cold fusion diode as a bargaining chip with the Enclave? Somehow the ghoul ended up with the dog even though it was in the shop with the citizens of Freeside as he heads into the Rocky Mountains. Post-credits scene, Quintus got Dane to get the plans to Liberty Prime. Point at the screen and say, I know what that is. Oh, and now he's claiming he tried to unify the Brotherhood, but he's no longer Quintus the Unifier, he's Quintus the Destroyer. Yeah, I can handle him being a loony. Probably the best character in the show after the ghoul. And thus ends season 2 of Fallout. Thank God it's over. I'm over the ridiculous coincidences, the nonsensical plot lines, the character assassination of beloved factions. At least if they head east, they're in uncharted territory so they can't murder the franchise anymore. But hey, a lot of people seem to eat this slop up. They say they want 5 or 6 seasons. I hope they move the needle more towards ridiculousness or seriousness, not this middle of the road junk we've been served up. At least if it's terrible, I can get a good laugh out of it like with Starfleet Academy. So my rating for the final episode of Fallout Season 2, well, I just can't get over how many plot lines they left unfinished. 12! The crazy amount of coincidences, the ghoul showing up just as Hank was about to mind control Lucy, the NCR showing up just as Maximus was going down. We didn't see what happened to Thaddeus's bet. We didn't see Vault 33 get their water. I thought they were going to put something in the water. Steph's baby is still strangely absent. Did Woody eat it? I'm afraid to say it's a 5 out of 10 for this episode. Saved from a 4 out of 10 by that I used to make money for a living joke from Thaddeus. For season 2 of Fallout overall, if the final episode had been a 6 or higher, I would have given it a 6 overall, but the fact that it dropped the ball so hard, it's a 5 out of 10. I could not recommend anyone watch this show. Unless you're the kind of person who has a Fallout tattoo or Funko Pops, but you don't need a review to know it's a 10 out of 10. Anyway, tell me what you think. Was this a good Fallout episode? Did you like the season overall? Go watch A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It takes 3 episodes to go from okay to great, but that 3rd episode, man. I got a quick Star Trek Academy review coming really soon. If you want to chat about Fallout or TV shows and video games, come and see me over at my YouTube gaming channel, MicksysPCGaming Live. I'm currently playing through Blueprints. I abandoned Expedition 33 as it got boring. Blueprints may go the same way if it doesn't change pronto. I'm also on Twitch over at twitch.tv/MicksysPCGaming. You can also find me on Patreon. Join now. It's free and it feels good. But anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good one. See you later.